Call this meeting to order. The pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next regular scheduled meeting of the Board of Supervisors will take place Friday, October 7th, 2022 at 9 a.m. at the Community Center, 3500 Edgewater Drive, Sebring, Florida. Please silence or turn off your cell phones. We will start with the consent agenda. Minutes of the Board of Supervisors regular meeting held September 9, 2022. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any board comment? Board comment.
David Board.
Board comment.
Okay, excuse me, I didn't pick up on it.
Sorry.
We're gonna take.
Any board comment? Any public comment?
Dave Howard, resident.
Hello?
Yeah. You recognize your voice. This is not about the agenda, about the minutes.
Then,
Yes,
this is for the minutes. Public comment comes up later on the agenda.
excuse me, you always have public comment on issues that are not on the agenda.
And it's after the meeting, after we get done with the consent agenda. If you look at the thing, it's got number 5 is public comment. And that's when those
That's what I
items.
thought you were calling for public comment.
No.
Excuse me.
Okay. Any public comment on the minutes of the Board of Supervisors regular meeting held September 9th, 2022? Call the vote.
Supervisor Phillips?
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick?
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin?
Yes.
Supervisor Hurley?
Yes.
District financials. Any board comment or motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any board comment? Public comment on the district financials? Call the vote.
Supervisor Hurley?
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin?
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick?
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips?
Yes.
Golf financials. Any public comment?
Motion to approve.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Board comment? You know, I need a second.
Second.
Now, board comment on golf financials. Public comment on golf financials. Call the vote.
Supervisor Herrick?
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin?
Yes.
Supervisor Hurley?
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips?
Yes.
Public comment. Open to anything that's not on the agenda to be discussed.
Mr. Halbig, after you're finished, we have a number of people here today that want to make public comment. So after you're done, there's a 5-minute limit. I'd like to just start on this side of the front row and move down and then move back to the second row. If that's okay with the folks here.
Okay, Dave Howard, President. And this may take longer than 5 minutes, but this is, I think, very important. And my comments are about what happened, mainly what happened at the last meeting with the Turtle Run Green Loop project. Okay? To begin with, on this whole project, the consultant did a really good job mapping and doing bill of materials and so on and so forth. trying to find some background to this information, and I spent hours and hours trying to dig out information. The general manager helped me, he gave me some things that I asked for. The problem is, this whole project, there's been no resolutions cut. It's always been by motion of the board, and normally, if there's a resolution, you're only a click away to finding the detail and the history and everything else. And you think it's fun? Excuse me, David. David's predecessor, John McClure, used to always say, important things need to have a resolution because you got a history of it and you got a record of it and you can find it. But to start with, the board approved the purchase of over $1 million in materials without an RFP and competitive bid on the materials. I guess that's okay because you piggybacked on another program, but there's no resolution. There's no resolution cut on that at all. Then on the Deer Run irrigation labor, there was an RFP. It was advertised on the 14th, pre-bid meeting, December the 14th pre-bid meeting set for December 21st bid closing. But then at the January 7th meeting, Mike Lemire presented a memo that was dated December the 10th, which is the same day as they agreed to do the RFP, with the bid results. Maybe there was a typo, I don't know, but it just looks odd. The bid results, here again, there was no resolution put together. The board approved the GT bid, but both bids, oddly enough, were on the same document by both companies. That seemed odd to me. But the big problem is the Turtle Run Green Loop project. At the September the 9th meeting, the discussion took place, and the board approved moving the Turtle Run Green Loop project from next year's plan and tying it into the work currently being done on Deer Run. There was a $180,000 BS number that got everybody's attention that was really based on a benchmark budget number and an unauthorized price that was given to our greenskeeper from somebody that wasn't solicited whatsoever. And the board approved it. There was no formal motion. There was no formal roll call to vote. $371,000 project to go forward and try to tie it into the Deer Run irrigation that has there was nothing in the scope of the work on Deer Run. I think there was no resolution that cut, again. The Deer Run, the Turtle Run green looping should be bid. You gotta follow the policy. You gotta follow the district policy, you gotta follow the state statute policy. This has to be bid, a competitive bid. It's a different project whatsoever. I don't think, and I can't believe that David Schumacher fell asleep at the wheel by not saying to the board, hey, you can't do that. It's gotta be bid. Just because of the timing, it's not an emergency. It is not an emergency. What you're gonna have is 2 carved up golf courses that people have to play. If you do this, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm saying you ought to follow the rules of the policy of the district, of the policy of the state statutes when it comes to purchasing this kind of stuff.
That's not it.
Yeah. We so know what you had to say. It has been reviewed, and we were proper in what we've done, and we're going to proceed with it in that thing. Thank you.
You're gonna do what?
We will be proceeding with the Turtle Run green loops as stated.
I'm not finished.
Yes, you are. We're 5 minutes is up. Your 5 minutes is up, David.
I did not talk for 5 minutes, sir.
Yes, you did. There was only 5 minutes. Anyway, my understanding is a change order is going to be brought to the board for review and approval.
Sure.
That's what's going to happen.
But we can piggyback on the current proposal that we did when we did the irrigation for deer. That is proper.
It is not proper. I got a public record request.
Sir. Thank you, Mr. Howley. And I'm gonna start at the left side of the room.
Pardon?
So are you done? Your 5 minutes, are you done?
Yes,
I'm really not done. But on a $2.5 million project, which is the biggest project we've had since we built that, whatchamacallit, it's been done in a sloppy manner, period. I'm not blaming the board necessarily, I'm blaming our general manager and our attorney by not steering you guys in the right direction. Things have to be done properly. They have to be followed. Policy has to be followed.
thank you for your
Thank
comments.
you.
And we do have a lot of people for public comment this morning, so I'm gonna start at the front of the room with the contingent from admin, if you'd like to come up, introduce yourself and.
Hello, I'm Kirsten Turner with Advent Health Foundations, right across the street here. I just wanted to take a moment. I know that we have worked with you all in several respects and done tours and shared information and things of that nature with our current wellness center project that we are working on through our Sebring Foundation. I have provided you some updates on your desks in these folders here. I know we have been in discussions regarding a $500,000 gift from Sun Lake Improvement District to support this campaign initiative. Just to update you all, financially, we had a goal of $5 million to be finished by 2024 with a schedule of groundbreaking in 2025. If you'll remember, we have to have about 80% of funds in hand to break ground on this project. At the end of this year, we are projected to have about $1.2 million in hand towards that project. I know several comments and questions have come up regarding your benefit of being a partner with us. So if you'll open your folder in the left-hand side of that, if you look to the back side, the second rectangle at the bottom there, those would be the amenities that were provided to you all and to your members for your support at that level. So I know we've talked about that $500,000 mark at $50,000 for a 10-year period. And our finance team is also willing to stretch that to a 15-year partnership if you also chose to go that route. So if you'll see at the bottom, we would provide a bridge strategy program for your members. If you all were going to move forward with shutting down your fitness area in lieu of this one being built on our campus. We would also be offering a 25% membership discount for your residents, as well as a $5,000 lunch sponsorship recognition at our celebrity golf tournament that we host here with you all at Sun Lake. And just to give you an update on that, the event this year is looking to be very successful. We are just 7 teams away of our 200 participant goal for that. We have some great celebrities coming in to golf with us again this year, so we look forward to that and look forward to hosting some of you all. Your partners of Prominence Homes and Southern Homes are actually supporting the event this year, so we look forward to furthering those partnerships as well. We will also have group and education classes that your residents can attend as part of your membership rate with us at the new center, and then we will have invite you all to participate in our executive physical program, which is an in-depth whole body exam and look over at that facility as well, more private. And then, of course, like I said, I know you guys have discussed a 10-year payoff, but we would be willing to go up to a 15-year. And as a reminder, that is a 21,000 square foot health and wellness facility. In the blueprint on the right side of your books, in the stapled packet, those are the renditions of the center. And you will see out front, there will be parking if you're looking head on at the building. To the left-hand side, where there will be golf cart parking as well. So prime parking for your residents that come over to use the facility. It will be a whole body wellness center, so not just the gym and the physical aspect, but it'll also have conference space, demonstration kitchen, so if you guys wanted to host a meeting or a group class and have that chef prepare, or have a dinner party, you would have availability to do that. Our lifestyle family medicine physician, Dr. Brokes, will be housed there as well. We will have a juice and snack bar there for residents, retail space that you guys would receive 10% off your purchases as well. And then I'll wrap it up. I know I'm probably talking a lot, but if you have any questions, I would love to answer those for you. We're very excited to see this. And residents, if you haven't heard about this project, it will be, if you've been to our hospital campus and you are looking out of our cafeteria area, the big green space, that is where this facility will be housed. If you are in the hospital, we will also have a walking connector trail from the main hospital to the facility as well. So whether you're coming over from the hospital or just coming to use the amenities at that facility, it'll be easy access either way, as well as having additional car parking put in place as well, because as you guys know, parking at any large facility can be difficult. So we are making note of that and making sure that's taken care of for those that use the facility as well. So if you have any questions, I'm willing to answer those. If not, then I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is the cost,
Please use your microphone.
what is the cost gonna be for a non-resident?
So a non-resident would be $30+. It just depends because there are programs, insurance programs, lower rates for individuals. Of course, there's silver sneakers memberships, things of that nature. It'll also depend on if you're a single registrant or a single member or family. So it'd be $30+ for non-resident.
Non, 30 plus,
For non.
okay, for a resident of, for a family a family membership, okay, what will that cost? So let's hear some like.
So as a family rate, that would be the 25% discount to the group rate. We are still working through because it depends on how many family members. So we are still in discussions of what exactly that looks like, but we would make sure that even in totality of the group, it was a 25% discounted rate for a family or group rate as well.
So a family rate would cost me what?
So we're still working on
Developing
this.
it.
Yes.
They're developing it.
Okay. All right, I think that's it for now.
Okay.
We're still.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
As we move down the line, Mr. Pufferberger, are you speaking today?
Yeah,
Welcome.
George Pufferberger, resident. I don't come to many meetings anymore, they're too depressing. I do read the minutes, and they're also depressing. One of the issues that I have, having been in the district 28 years, David Havoc and I worked together for a whole lot of years. We didn't always agree, many arguments along the board, but our overall intent was for the betterment of the district, to make sure that every citizen in this state was equally representative of the public funds that we collect. That's no longer the issue here. When I read the last month's minutes, the thing David referred to, the looping of the greens on Turtle Run, a comment that struck my eye was that some gentleman, I think his last name was Bloom, I don't know who he is, indicated to the board that the original $300 and some thousand that was budgeted, I guess, for the looping is now up to $742,000. However, we can do that by taking X number of dollars out of the general fund and X number of dollars out of the utility fund. Well, using that same philosophy, and then incidentally, I go back, that would still protect our reserves. I think our reserves are probably recommended to be about 2 to 3 months of operating expenses. So if we're not operating under that financial philosophy, anything over and above that is going to have to be borrowed money. And look where we are today. This board and previous boards has raped both the utility funds and the general fund for major projects in the golf operation. Me being a golfer for most of my life, fair is fair, but you folks represent 10,400 people who are residents of this district, not 504 golfers. They get the majority of the funds. That doesn't work. That doesn't commute. And if you folks don't fix it, there's 5 people downtown who can fix it. They hold our charter, 3 votes like Son of Lake. You folks right off the map. You need to begin to think, we're gonna spend what, $15–20 million over the next 5 years for sewer plant replacement, for drainage. Who pays for that? Everybody in this room, non-golfers, because the golf operation, which is, I understand, is quote, an amenity. When the amenities get to the point of bankrupt in the district, it's time for you folks to do something. And there is a way to fix it. You simply have to have the backbone to do it and know you're doing the right thing for your community. The other issues I find, the board has taken responsibilities they're not entitled to. When I read it, the board had told the general manager to assign Bob Brumfield to roads and drainage and Mr. Diltz to code enforcement. You don't have that authority. You never did. So it says you don't know district policy. You have one employee, and that's a gentleman sitting right there. That's it. It's a violation of district policy to delve into his responsibilities. And the primary issue is the board for the past 5 years, the last 2 boards have taken over management of the district, and that's a recipe for disaster. We're on a downward spiral when we're operating on reserves. That's not a healthy situation to be in. There's ways to fix it. And if you continue the way you are, I'm going to endeavor to get it fixed.
Thank you. Sir, state your name.
Robert Thatcher and my wife Mary Ann. This is about the incident on September 4th at the pool. There was also something going on that day outside in the parking lot. There was a bunch of teens fighting and there was some gunshots reported. Well, coincidentally, there was an incident outside the lobby there at the pool where my wife was threatened by a couple individuals.
For the second time.
Well, this, you know, we've been here 4 months from Michigan. Never had any problems, never had an incident. This one time, I'll admit, I lost my cool. I used some swear words at the pool. I apologized to that family immediately when I realized they were near me. You know, that being said, I think us being suspended for 90 days for one incident, no warning, is a little bit much. I feel like that should be reconsidered.
I've complained several times to the women in the office, and they were warned, but we haven't.
We never got a warning.
We never got a warning, nothing.
Never had a problem, and I promise you, you never have a problem on this again.
Schaefer called for me to stand up for us.
And we have a lot of good friends there. We'd like to go back to the pool.
That was a board decision that we'd make, and we would have to put that back on the agenda for the next meeting for board reconsideration, and I'll talk to the president.
That would be great. I appreciate it.
Put it on the agenda.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate
I
it.
also want to talk about an incident with our garbage. There was a box that had blown over to our lawn because there was a storm last weekend. And within an hour of that time, we received a memo on our porch. It wasn't even our box. This is the second memo we've received for garbage that wasn't even ours. Now, when we moved in, there was a pile of garbage, and I had paid to have it removed. And across the street is an open field from us. And we paid $70 to have that cleaned up, so we didn't have to
It
look
wasn't
at
even
it.
part of our.
It wasn't
we just
even
didn't
our
try to
property.
looking at it.
But I'm concerned with the field across the street from us. It's full of garbage. And it has been, my neighbor said for years,
On the bar.
on Navarre Avenue. There's a big pile, just been sitting there since we've been here.
Yeah.
Did you report it to code
Yes, I
enforcement
did.
that it wasn't your problem?
Yes, I
It
did.
wasn't your garbage?
It was.
Yes, I did, and I
Then
still
that was
paid to have it removed.
Pardon?
I still had to pay to have it removed, they wouldn't remove it. But now there's more, it's full again.
Yeah.
People are
Looks like a
dumping
little
stuff
dump
there.
area there, it looks like, even though they did come through with a mower and mowed about 10 feet deeper into that grassy area.
We will review with code enforcement
Thank you,
how
guys.
many issues out there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Amy Strike.
Name, please?
First, Amy Strike. First, I would like to say thank you for finally fixing our street light across the street for me. It took my neighbors 3 years of complaining, nothing done. I got on the bottoms of people and now it's fixed, so thank you, I appreciate it. I'm just gonna quickly touch on the pool ordeal, but I will be back for the next meeting. They were truly fairly unjust at what happened. If you guys consider that public, if a swear word is said, nobody should be punished. And again, they've had 0 complaints, 0 warnings. The other group has had multiple complaints, multiple warnings. In fact, a week ago Monday, I was verbally attacked severely by one person. She was present. There are 3 members, well, 4 members were in the pool, 3 of them reported it on their way out. 2 of those now will not stay at the pool when this member is up. And your guys' response to the emails and the backing up of the paperwork, she gets 1 warning and then that's it? No. My life has been jeopardized now by 2 people that go to that pool. I've had 1 complaint. I messed up one time toward one lady. I got out of the pool, told Cheyenne what I did. I left for the day. Weeks later, when I got things calmed down, I went up to that lady and I apologized for adding fuel to the bonfire. But my biggest thing right now is for my neighborhood. The sewage that my neighbors endured should never have happened. There's homes that are unlivable right now because of how much sewage went into their homes. There's elderly over there that cannot do this cleanup on their own. You guys knew about this issue 5 years ago because in fact, one of my neighbors called in concern for me before this happened because I guess my place has backed up twice in the past that I was never told about. She backed up, but not enough to where it was too bad for her not to take. But again, she shouldn't have endured that. None of them should. I literally was watching inches of sewage bubbling through those holes in that road. Our neighborhood stinks of poo still. That needs to be corrected because now we, the homeowners, have to pay for this. My neighbors, I found out 2 days ago, had sewage in theirs. Their insurance company's trying to say it's all their fault. So.
I can assure, we are currently looking at what happened down there on those, I believe there's 3 properties that were involved with sewage. And we are looking at it.
Well, I possibly could be at jeopardy because I'm an attached wall to where all of theirs was standing.
I understand.
So-
And we're looking at that whole problem there, and we'll get back with you with a resolution as to what our position will be.
Okay.
And it will be soon that you get that.
And then also, is it public knowledge to find out exactly where all of our funding, our assessment fees go? Because I pay higher assessments for being on the butt end of golf course that I don't utilize. But is it public knowledge where all this funding is going? Because again, you guys knew about this 5 years ago. You opted out of fixing it because of the cost, and then it went to that golf course. Again, the residents of this community needs to be the number ones because if we eventually all leave, you guys don't have a golf course.
Understand.
So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next? Anybody else in the front row? Okay, well, we'll move to the second row of the Garces and move down the line. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Lisa Marie Garza. Speaking as I'm coming in for full incident, the people who just left were the ones who attacked us. And we have a report here. And the witness statements were written out. And then when the security report was written, it was written not correctly. I don't know if Chris can vouch for me on that. But I'm just here to get my full privilege and my husband's privilege back. We did not cause problems. I don't want to get into he said, she said with what that. But it's just, we were not in a feud. We just broke ties. We didn't want to be their friends. We found out that they weren't our type of people. And then they came in and brutally, verbally attacked my husband, the man, and then walked around the pool. But I was outside dispersing the kids from fighting at that time in the middle of the parking lot because there were families coming in. So I was nowhere around this whole situation except for when they walked in and I waved hi to them and they took words at me and told me some bad language. And I just walked away and then I seen the fight and I was trying to disperse the fight. When I got inside, there were the witnesses that wrote the statements for my husband on how this man attacked it. But when Bill Hiltz wrote out his statement, it's not right. There's so much discrepancies and wrongs in this paperwork of everything I'm showing you that's pink. And we weren't the cause of this. And I just want my full back. I mean, I'm not a troublemaker. I've been here. We retired at 40 years. My husband worked 4 years for the county of Palm Beach. We come here. We just want to have the right spot.
So you're appealing that decision of County?
I have the paperwork here that shows the witness.
We will put it on.
Vouch for me that it was written wrong. The top part was kind of misconstrued to where it looked like, it wasn't written out. Them, there's them, who's them?
We will put it on the agenda for the next meeting, at which time you can appeal your suspension.
Okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Who's next on the road?
My name is Thomas Price. I'm one of the households affected by the sewer. I had an inch of sewer through my whole house. I'm going to be out of my house for 3 or 4 months. Makes me so mad, because I knew about it. You knew about it. The house next to me is flooded twice in the last 5 years. My home backed up in the bathtub. This time it literally, there was just an inch through my whole house. They're ripping my whole house apart.
I was over at Mr. Price's house early Saturday morning, and everything he said is correct, and he is tremendous inconvenience. The inside of his house is destroyed. And
I can't even have my son because I can't keep him at the hotel room. So I'm losing visitation with my son. Me and my wife are stuck in a hotel for 3 to 4 months. Because they got to rip the walls out. That's how bad it was. They got to take my refrigerator and stove. They got to go clean it. And it ain't right. I mean, they knew about it because the house next door had flooded. I know twice. I've been there 6 years, 7 years. So the house next door is flooded twice since I've been there. And the lady replaced everything in the house. And now she has to do it again? All because the sewer wasn't taken care of. Why isn't the upkeep doing? Where's the upkeep for Sun Lakes? It's all going to the damn golf course. And none of y'all can get upset. I know we live in a golf course community. I love living in a golf course community because it helps our property better. I love that. But sometimes you got to fix what's here first. For everybody else that lives in this community.
I'm very sorry for what happened to you, and we are looking into exactly what did happen and what we can do to resolve that issue. If there's something that can be done, it will get done.
Dixie?
I'm going to stand over here, and you'll be able to hear me. I'm Dixie Smith. I live next to Tom. I was blessed. He knocked on my door, rang my doorbell, and told me to check my bathrooms, which I did. I had sewage coming up in the base of my shower. And I put on my snake boots, got a pan that I mopped my floors with in a pail. And I got busy. I'm a retired emergency room nurse, I'm 88. I'm not like Kathy Griffin, we watch TV, I have my rooms. But the next morning, at 8:15, Chris was at my house. Tom had told him I had damage. He told me what to do. I called Allstate, they were not in, but they referred me and took care of it, called Tower Insurance. Tower Insurance called me. I had somebody out to look. I was able to contain it in my bathrooms. I did not have it run into my carpeting. All I can say is I appreciate it. Chris was there, told me what I needed to do. My insurance company handled it. And I know what it is to lose a house. I sympathize with Tom. In 1965, the Palm Sunday tornado hit our area in Indiana. I lost my home. My parents took us in with 4 children. So I know what it is to lose your home. But I have to say, I was handled very graciously. I met with Chris on Tuesday morning. By then, I had the people that come in and clean. They didn't have to clean, frankly, they offered me a job. But there's Sarasota, and I'm certainly at 88 not going to go back to work. I came in, I talked with Chris, told him what happened, gave him the claim that I got from the people that cleaned my house, and they are addressing the issue. I thank you all for the time, and I especially appreciate the kindness that was given to me, because I have no family here. Thank you, and thank you so much, sir. Thank you, members.
Thank you. And we are working all those claims through our insurance company and also through the carriers of the homeowners.
It's a very, very unfortunate incident that you guys experienced. I wish I could make it go away, but I can sure try to make sure that it doesn't happen again to you.
Thank you.
That's all I can do. That's all we can do here. Next, anyone else from public comment?
Good morning, my name is Marian Quintana. I'm here because we have a duplex on Calatrava Avenue by the golf course, and there's a ditch right there. The last hurricane that we had, that was so full, all that water, we have a swimming pool, all that water came into our house. We had no flood insurance. We were up until 4 o'clock in the morning, just cleaning our house, the water that came in. When we just had the rains over here, that also got flooded. I thought they were supposed to do something about that. Now probably we're gonna have another hurricane.
Well, I can't specifically speak to what may have happened in your particular, but again, this is an unprecedented rain. There was very many areas within the district that were flooded, and even outside this district, there was a lot of flooding. It was an act of nature with the amount of rain that we got in a very short period of time. It is correcting In many areas, it is correcting over time. It has gone down. I cannot guarantee you that if this hurricane comes, it wouldn't happen again. We do have a project that we're going to be working on, improving the drainage within the district. We have a $6 million project, and that should be taking place over the next 2 years. Will that, I don't know that even with what we're going to do, can avoid any type of significant flooding that occurs when you have that much rain in that short period of time, especially in an area such as this. But we are going to do what we can to make sure that we improve the drainage within the district.
But we had the hurricane, why didn't you do something before? Now we're having another hurricane, I hope not. That's gonna get flooded again, all that water. What happened to 3 years, 4 years?
I don't know why these drainage and culverts haven't been taken care of over the years. I can't answer to why the board hadn't acted on that in the past. All I'm saying is that we have a project in front of us now that we are going to try to correct what should have been maintained and wasn't maintained.
4 years ago.
I can't undo what's done right now, but we are going to try to correct the situations the best that we can.
I mean, you have money for the golfers and all that. You have to take care of us.
I agree.
People that pay the mortgage, people that live by the golf course, that we have to pay more.
I understand that. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carl Anderson. I live also on Caltrava Avenue. Golf course isn't the only thing that needs to be going to be affected by the flooding. My wife works at the hospital. She works in the lab, where a lot of people get their diagnosis for what they have. If it wasn't for my truck, she wouldn't have been able to make it to work. You don't fix the problem with the drainage, you're going to stop healthcare workers from getting to the hospital and helping these people. This needs to be a priority. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Costi, resident. The chair that I was sitting in belonged in the back row, so I guess that's okay for me to stand up here now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just want to mention that there were people here in this room and on the board sitting up here that remember what was going on between 2010 and 2020. During that period of time, the district was collecting money on the backs of the utility bill, which included an account called the Utilities Repair, Replacement, and Improvement Fund, which resulted in the accumulation of almost $10 million in the fund over the years, over the last 10 years, 10 to 12 years. Approximately 5 years ago, 1 or 2 members of this board were here when the name of that fund was changed to the Capital Improvement Fund. The decision was also made to take golf from being an enterprise fund, which means it's a profit-making fund, or a profit goal, or at least a break-even goal for the golf operation. It was changed to be an amenity, like a library might be referred to as an amenity. Over that period of time, there was $536,000 per year transferred from the from the utilities department to the new Capital Improvement Fund, which was the new name of the Utility Repair, Replacement, and Improvement Fund. That accumulation of money is gone. We don't have anywhere near the $10 million now that we need for a new sewage plant, for new drainage improvements. It's all been spent on the golf course. And it continues. We've had a 5-year budget plan for, ever since I've lived here, there was a 5-year capital improvement plan. It changes every year. Golf keeps getting moved ahead of everything else. And it's not right, it's not, this is a government for the entire community, not just for the golf operation. I agree that golf is very important to Sonoma Lake. But it's not as important to the exclusion of things like drainage and sewage treatment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Camp, President, good morning. I'm going to deviate a little bit from what I originally was going to say. I'm listening to the people out here that are having this problem with sewage, for example. Now, earlier this year, the gentleman, the people that typically do a lot of the work here, KDL, came forward and gave their estimation of what needed to be done in terms of sewage infrastructure here. I know that we're working on a $6 million plan, and you're passing and improving the assessment increases so that we can pay for that drainage. I'm not saying that it doesn't need to be done. However, that is in an area that isn't even inhabited right now. There's very few homes up in those areas right now. We have people living that have sewage coming into their house, and yet we don't have a plan to improve that underground structure, that infrastructure there. After KDL came up and said, you guys have some serious problems, you need to work on it. So you're collecting $6 million. I suggest instead of cleaning ditches, which is important to do, you might want to look at the people who are living in these houses that are getting flooded. Okay, now let me move on to another section. And I'll try to make it really brief because it took a couple more minutes already. I listened to last week's meeting, or this September 9th meeting, and I was absolutely amazed at what I was hearing from the board. Now, Mr. Halbig and some others have already mentioned a little bit about the irrigation system. So what I did at that time after that meeting is I contacted the district. I actually set up a meeting a week ago Monday. I didn't actually talk to him until a week ago Wednesday. I met with Chris, and I said, Chris, here's my concerns. I don't know how to get this information because it's not readily available on the website where it used to be. For an example, RFPs and bids. I'm not saying they don't exist, they just don't exist on our website.
Being recorded.
So I did a lot of research, hours and hours and hours of research. The $180,000 saving that they were talking about, hey, I say if I could save $180,000, I'd be all over that. And that's exactly what the board did last meeting. They said, $180,000, this is great, we should do it. Like I said, I would have done the same thing probably, but I would have done it through the appropriate protocol. And I think, and I'm going to ask, because I never got any answer from the district 2 weeks ago now, and Mr. Dave Schumacher was supposed to get back to Chris. Now maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Chris never got back to me. So I have to ask the question. I'm familiar with how the RFP process works in terms of our policies. I know there are certain situations where you can piggyback, you can be a sole source, it can be an emergency and things. How was it that we took a project that was not sent out for RFP and we approved it and added it on? Now, I don't know who's going to answer it because Chris, I don't know if he can answer it. Craig, you might be able to because you said it was done all right. And I have no reason not to believe that, but I've been just looking for the information. How was that done correctly?
Do you want me to respond to that?
Yes.
Nothing's been done yet. The board talked about, and what was approved was moving forward with to see if that was possible. And the plan is to bring a change order before the board, probably at the next board meeting. Then it will be approved. Nothing is officially approved as of yet. No money has been approved to be spent. A change order will be presented. And that's if we have the legal ability to do it, which I believe that we have, based on the potential savings and the exceptions to the bidding process.
Okay. And where can is this like I'm trying to understand, where can I find this information? Because it's contrary to what your policies in the district say. That's all I'm asking. Where can I find this information?
It's in the purchasing policy. It explains that if anything over $25,000 has to go through the RFP process unless an exception applies.
So what's that exception?
That's what we're looking into, but it appears it's going to be either sole source or piggyback.
Okay. Just as an FYI, I'm sure you're totally aware of this. When the Deer Run green loops were done in 2019, I believe it was, we had 3 bids on that. GTI was one of them. GTI did not get awarded the contract. They got the green loops for $177,000 was the winning bid, and GTI was $333,000. I think it would behoove this club or this district to look at an RFP to get competitive pricing, because, and if somebody says to me, well, that was back 4 years ago or 3 years ago and the pricing has changed. No, that was the bid at the time on the bid sheet, $333,000 versus $177,000. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
My final question also is,
Your 5 minutes is up, I'm sorry. Well, if you apply it to one, you need to apply it to all. I'm sorry. Your 5 minutes is
how do
up.
I find out about the $500,000 that wasn't budgeted, that they talked about at the beginning of this meeting? In the capital plan for the Advent Health, where is that?
It is in the capital budget.
For $500,000?
No, for $50,000 a year,
Okay, thank you.
and that's just in for next year.
And I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Good morning, Bill Norquist, President. I just have a question. And we all sympathize with these people back here that have had water problems. Now, this isn't quite a statewide disaster. Does it qualify for any kind of FEMA funds that we can have these areas really fixed and fixed the proper way that it's supposed to be fixed? I mean, can we kind of alleviate the pressure on the residents and the taxpayers here? My question, can FEMA or some other governmental department help us here?
I'll respond to that. I would have to check into that, but really the incident was isolated to a small area, and it was, the fix will be to look at how the piping was done for those units. Evidently, they've had some historical issues with it, and how they're piped in, where they're piped in. So that's what we're investigating now with ground penetrating radar, locating where the lines are and where they tie in.
Well, I hope somebody can look into it. I know when you have a hurricane and a tornado problem, that you have FEMA funds, and they're really, really political here. It really, really bothers me. We spent $60 billion to go to Ukraine, and we can't take care of simple problems like this. I think something should be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Good morning. I'm George Cruz, a resident. I've lived here for 3 years, and I'm glad to see that a lot of the people that have been talking, that this community is not only a golf course community, but it's also has a lot of residents that live here. And this is, their homes are an investment. As all of us that own a home, is our investment property that we have. We take care of the golf course and we take care of the greens. I would like to see a little bit more on the beautification and not making light of the problems that they've had here now that I'm here, and it's been existing for a long, long time. My only comment to you is, I piggyback on some of the comments that this is not only a golf community, but it's a resident community. And things need to be addressed for the residents of this community, since most of the money that's being paid is by the residents.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, Scott, are you good, or any message from Scott? Commissioner Scott? Go on.
Good morning, board, staff, and residents. Scott Kerouac, Helms County Commissioner, District 3. A couple things to report to you folks. We had our board meeting this Tuesday. The county adopted and approved our budget. We had a millage decrease this year. Your previous millage was 8.55. That's $8.55 per $1,000 of home value. And we were able to reduce that to 8.1. So you folks that have homestead exemption on your property, you're protected by a 3% valuation cap of your home. We reduced the millage by 5.5%. So some of you will see a little bit of tax relief on your general tax line on your tax bill. Also this week, we were able to approve a grant that we received for your community for sidewalk extension, a $150,000 grant. That sidewalk will be on the north side of Sun Lake Boulevard, past the first circle, where the sidewalk now ends. And then it will pick up from there. It will be approximately 1,600 feet of sidewalk. It will continue down around your first circle in front of your district office, and I believe tie into down there by where the driving range is. That project is due to be completed by July of next year, is the information that we've been given. Also, I know certainly if you've lived in Highlands County, we've seen an extreme amount of rain for September. Rainfall in September, as of the 20th of the month, has exceeded almost 40% of our annual rainfall. We've had more rainfall in September than we had in Hurricane Irma. So certainly, we see a lot of things going on when we get an extreme amount of rain in a short period of time. That's why they call it flash floods. 1 acre-inch of water, 1 inch of water over 1 acre of land is approximately 27,000 gallons of water. So when we get 4 inches of rain plus in 2 hours or so in time frame, over 108,000 gallons of water per acre that Mother Nature dropped upon all of us. It doesn't belong to Sun Lake Improvement District. The water doesn't belong to the county. Mother Nature dropped it on us in a quick amount of time. So we have issues within the county that we have flooding issues when we have flash floods like this. So I can tell you, even if your ditches and your culverts are clean, every culvert, every drainage system is only designed to handle so much rainfall per hour. When you exceed that amount of rain, then that water flows out of the ditches and flows to lower elevations. It's nothing I'm sure that any of us want, and I know that there's a lot of anxiety when water starts approaching your house. But I can tell you, as a county, we do everything we can to correct these problems. There's 3 watershed studies that we're currently doing in the county. We've got a lot. Highlands County could spend millions upon millions upon millions of dollars fixing drainage problems. And that's something that we're going to be looking at moving forward also. We're going to take the most severe areas first and address those. So it is a challenge. Hopefully we do now have a tropical storm, I believe, that's out there. That's hard to say where it's going to go, but we have ground that is already saturated. And I encourage you folks to certainly keep an eye on the storm, be prepared the best that you can, and we'll all hope and pray for the best to do the best that we can do. Other than that, we're continuing to move forward on the county, and we will direct, like I said, there will be a lot more conversation in the future for drainage items and things that need to be addressed. And if anybody has any questions for me, I'd be glad to try to answer them, or if not, follow up with them with an answer.
I just have one. And help me on the board. I recall being told by a general manager candidate at the time that we had been approved for a second turn lane off of 27 into Sun Lake. And I was assuming that's FDOT,
Yes, sir.
money.
Yes, sir.
Do you know anything about that?
I can check into it. I have not heard any talk about that, but I'll certainly look into it and follow up with you.
Yeah, that would have been several years ago, if I remember right, and she stated that, and
Okay, absolutely, yep, I'll get with that, I'll get with her staff and have them get with FDOT and see what is in the plans or what have you, and follow up with you.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Yes, sir.
Okay, moving on, we have the action agenda for the water meter replacement project, and I believe that's you, Chris.
Motion to approve.
Second.
This is just a follow-up. In March of last year, we put the water meters out to bid, and the project was delayed up until this next fiscal year. We still had the bids out and in place, so all I'm asking is for a formal vote from the board to nullify those bids. And then we're kind of starting all over. Next month, we'll put the project out to bid again. Same thing with water meter replacement. The only difference is we're also gonna add metering as a service. There are some companies that basically come in, do the installation, run your billing system, do the maintenance on the system, and you can either lease it from them or lease it for a certain term and then buy the system out. So we did consider that on the first go-round versus a direct purchase and installation, but we just want to consider all options, and we'll put this out to RFP with the revised bid specs in October. So recommendation is the board approval to void the 4 requests for proposals received for the water meter replacement project and authorize the staff to reissue the RFP in October of 2022 and include metering as a service in the bid documents.
So moved.
Any board discussion? Any public comment? Call vote?
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes.
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
VP Herrick,
Yes.
Next item is the golf tournament schedule for 2022-2023.
Thanks, Chris.
I have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any board comment? I've got one. I know we spent a lot of time going through these dates last year when we established our meeting schedule and the tournament schedule. And I can't figure out how the MGA Quad 4 got included on the day that we were having a meeting.
So we run into that, the quad 4, always the week that it falls in November. We've had a conflict with that, it seems like every single year. The reason why it falls on that week and it doesn't move is because there's no other options really to put it in there. You can't move it a week before, you can't move it a week after, because you got Thanksgiving, and then we have all these other events in there as well. We always have welcome backs, and we have all this other stuff. That's really the only week that it falls on. There's really no other viable option if you want to have that event in November.
My statement is, how did we get to where we approved a meeting schedule and a golf tournament schedule when I know that we sat there and talked about it last year? I don't understand how that came about.
And my statement last year was the same, that event can't move. So it's up, it's unfortunate if we have a meeting that day. I know I'll be here as well, and I won't be there, but, I'm not sure what you would like us to do.
Well, there's obviously, what I'm going to ask is that we move our meeting from the board from November 18th to November 11th. And I would like someone to make that.
That's, just so you know, November 11th is Veterans Day.
Veterans Day, but the tournament is until the 12th.
which is fine with me, but it's a holiday.
I
don't know if it works for everyone else.
understand that.
Is our office closed?
Yes.
Office is closed on that day, okay? Well. I'm for that if you would make a motion of it.
Can we have, are we legally able to change it to a Monday?
Sure, or can change the meeting date, we just have to advertise it and announce it publicly, and we have plenty of time to do that, so.
All right, can we change it to the 14th, the office will be closed again, that's the 4-day weekend, is that correct? I'm checking it now, I got it. I only have the 11th.
When is Thanksgiving, November 24th? We could either go to like the 21st
I was thinking the 14th,
or the 14th, yeah.
if the office is open that day.
Yes,
We have it
ma'am.
on the 14th.
It's
And
open.
then I would like to make a formal motion that we move the Board of Supervisors meeting to Monday, the 14th at 9 o'clock, please.
Second?
I'll second.
Any further board discussion? Any public comment? Call vote.
Supervisor Phillips?
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin?
Yes.
Supervisor Hurley?
Yes.
VP Harris?
Yes. Thank you. Now, any other issues that we may have with the tournament schedule or the non-member events that we have lined up here? These are all returns, aren't they? Mike?
So most of,
The non-member golf events, so they're all repeats, are they not?
sorry, the only one that is new is that Elks State Golf event, and it's pending, so we just, that literally hit the list right when I was making it, so we're still working through that. So it will fall in April if we get it all negotiated out. So that one is new, everything else is returning, yes.
We have a motion to approve?
I believe we already do.
I thought we did too. Any further discussion from the board? Anybody from the public? Call vote. Call vote, please.
Supervisor Gilpin?
Yes.
Supervisor Hurley?
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips?
Yes.
VP Harris?
Yes. Okay, add-on items?
None.
None. Petitions and communications.
You have received none.
Staff reports. General counsel.
All right, unfortunately, not a lot of info today. Mr. Rhodes, who's handling the litigations, has COVID, so he has not been available to discuss with, so I have a standing, I have a scheduled meeting with him on October 6th before our next board meeting, so hopefully we'll have some updates for you then. The other thing I want to touch with the last board meeting, Mr. Brooks asked that I could provide the board with a kind of a checklist on what I'm working on regarding the changes to the ordinances and our policies. Currently, what I'm when I'm working on this, we're doing policy changes, ordinance changes regarding the moving to 5 popular seats that will be to take place in the 2024 election. Right-of-way code enforcement, charitable giving restrictions by memo on that will be part of the next board packet before the October 7th board meeting. And then code of conduct and suspensions on our policies regarding that. So working on both revisions to ordinances and revisions to the policy manual, whichever makes the most sense. So if there's anything, if there's anything else you supervisors can think of that you'd like me to work on, you can just shoot me an email or give me a phone call and I'll add it.
The illegal dumping was part of it?
Part of that, that's the right way, correct.
Okay, and, no, this isn't policy, this is just, I need an update on the Granada update purchase.
Still haven't heard back from the county, the assistant county attorney. We've been playing phone tag, so I'll make a concerted effort to get all of them before the next board meeting on the answer there.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, and officially I'll be starting office hours, I think it's going to be I'm going to be doing office hours Tuesday and Thursday starting October 4th next month, and I'll be available. I haven't worked it all out with Chris yet, but I think it's going to be from 8:30 to noon, it's going to be the office hours. Thank you.
General Manager.
Well, it was an exciting Friday night, and with all the rain, and we weren't alone when you saw the pictures across the county of the flooding that took place. I will say that we had people complaining about water in the ditches and water raising up in the roads, but I'm not aware of any homes that were damaged or flooded. So that is a good thing. And really the way a lot of the drainage is, and that's the way it was designed, when those ditches fill up in front of your home, they're made to flood into the road and flood the road before they'll flood your house. So that's just really part of the drainage system. And everything was so backed up and saturated, it took a while. And I appreciated the comment about why we would work on the drainage in the areas where there's no homes. But everything in Sun and Lake moves from east to west. So if that drainage isn't maintained properly in that area where there are no homes, there's no way for the water to get back on the western end where it drops off into that preserve area. So it's important to have all those issues addressed where the houses aren't, so the water can flow, because if it's not flowing there, it's going to back up into Sun and Lake proper. And we had utility teams out at a couple lift stations that ended up having electrical issues on the panels and a starter motor that tripped, and I had 4 guys that came out at 11 p.m. and they were there till 5 in the morning, going around doing service work and calls. And we had 65 calls into the office emergency line that night, and 4 of them were from sewer issues. Mr. Price in particular, and that's when we went out the next morning, had the sewer issue and the road collapse out of Balboa. And all that Bob addressed about Balboa, because he gave us some pictures, but it was very, very busy, and a lot of people, they were just concerned with the water levels rising up and concerned about their house getting flooded. But again, we didn't have any houses flooding, and typically by Sunday, everything was dried out, even a lot of the ditches were dried out. You still see some standing water on Sun Lake Boulevard. That water's all draining off and coming off that elevated lot next to Sun Lake Boulevard. And we did have our wastewater treatment plant, typically the large one would do about 350 to 375,000 gallons a day. We had almost 700,000 gallons go through the plant that day, which means it's all pouring into the system from leaks and breaks and cleanouts and things like that. And that's part of that facilities plan that we're working on right now to move forward, to ask the state for a long-term low-interest loan of $10 million, one to upgrade the plants and also the collection system. And we do have some work coming up with smoke testing and infiltration repairs starting in the next fiscal year, so we're addressing it. And the homes that flooded, worked with the residents, filed the complaints, working with their insurance companies, and we're doing just a very detailed investigation now to see how those homes are piped into our system, because those 4 homes were the only ones on that street I'm aware of that had that issue. So it was localized to several properties, not up and down the road, and that's what got my attention with it. But there was so much water in that sewer system, the manholes were bubbling up on top.
Do we know that, were there any vacant homes there, if you will, from like snowbirds that are gonna come back and find that in their houses?
Not that I'm aware of. Like I said, the homes that were impacted were all single-family
Okay,
homes
all right.
and occupied. It was been in condos. I haven't heard of anything happening across the street or in the other building.
Okay, good.
But it was a mess. Yeah. And I feel really badly for the people in there. It's beyond inconvenience, and someone wakes up at 3 in the morning with a situation like that and is told they have to get out of their house for 2 or 3 months. And we're taking steps to ensure it won't happen again. And if we have another heavy rain incident come in, I'll be going up to those houses and literally capping their sewer lines going into the system to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Okay.
Chris, the mosquito population is going to explode shortly. Do we have a mosquito spraying policy in place?
Well, we do. They have their, especially this time of year in the rainy season and all that. Bob addressed that, but they're out spraying regularly. They may be able to step up the effort a little bit.
I think we need to.
We'll step up the cost, but.
I can't help.
Did you look into whether we still have those mosquito pills?
I did not. That's thought about that too.
Okay.
I'll address that when I.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
And I'll make a few comments too under utilities. In the last week, I've had a couple of consultants out and KDL also, and we've gone through in detail the performance and the operation of the water and the wastewater plants. And there's several control things that we can do to make it work better and function better, just by sizing a pipe. And there's some old school floats and timers that control surge tanks. It's not appropriate for the way it's distributing the flow, and we can remedy some of that pretty easily. And we also looked into the chlorine injection system at the plant and the way some of the chemical injections go on. We said 2 consultants do a walkthrough and do a punch list. And a lot of these items were included in the projects for that ARPA money, but we're moving forward with implementing those projects.
Good, thank you.
Do you have an estimated cost for the Cortez extension?
Yes, I have to pay it. Right.
How much is it?
It's going to be at least $300,000.
300K?
Yeah. And that's really due to inflation. The last time we looked at it, and Excavation Point gave us an estimate. We were looking in that 200 to 225 range to pave that connector through, and it's just, we added the inflation to it.
Okay. While we have that brought up, the Cortez extension, as Scott had mentioned to us, that we ought to look at going and talking to the various committee members for the county. I think we should be singing out of one hymnal if we go. So I would like to know what is our position as far as our involvement in any payment for Schumacher. Do we expect the county to pay for it all? Or are we going to suggest that we would maybe pay, because of the one lot that we have, we would make some nominal payment as a landowner? Right now they have this saying if it's attaches to land that they have to get a 50-50. What's our board position? Because we have to be together if we go talking to these community people. So I'd like to hear hear what you guys have to say.
Greg, I met with all of them last week, all the commissioners. And I recommend that we do that, but from what I heard, it was some were uncommittal. One wanted, I think told me that they would vote for the extension unless we paid for half of Shoemaker. That was the only firm.
Did you make any comment as to our position?
They asked me mine, and I told them, well, you know mine. I mean, I'm in favor of doing it if we pay a fair share with everybody else on Schumacher. But we have one lot, and they're talking about either just going to Cortez or to Blueberry. And if they go to Blueberry, we have 7 lots, which again, I would be in favor to share it equally with the church and the rancher. I mean, that's my position, it's always been that. But it's really up to them. I'm gonna meet with a couple of them. They're gonna come out and they wanna look at the road, because a couple of them aren't exactly sure about, what we're talking about, and what we're doing, so but one of them was pretty adamant about us paying half of their cost that the county's gonna have on Schumacher Road.
Probably know who that is.
Well, that's one thing I was going to mention is that the district does not own all of those lots. And they're, like I said, all of those properties that are on that side, the district side of that road, we have the ability to specially assess them. So if they're not going to willingly contribute, the district has the ability to specially assess those benefited properties if that's what it comes to.
Yeah,
So
but the big one though is on the other side.
Correct. So yeah, we have no control over that, but that's just something to keep in the back of your heads. That's a long process. So just to, it doesn't have to fall all on us. If those property owners are not going to be, are not going to voluntarily do it, we still have the ability to special assess.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, what's the cost of the whole project?
I said last estimate to pay the Schumacher portion was gonna be $500,000.
So, and they want us to pay half?
Yes.
That's what they're saying.
That's their policy.
You met with them and.
Well, one of them said that, but that was their position 5 years ago too. But
50,000 would have been a whole lot better to pay back then than it is now. We got Eagles getting our way there.
yeah. Well, somebody did because they changed it at the last meeting.
Well,
You know,
50,000 would have been easier to pay for it than what we're gonna have to pay now.
okay. But I think it's very important that the supervisors meet because they have other issues.
But we can't be going there with, in my opinion, we shouldn't be having different positions on what we are going to do.
Well, we do, though, I think.
Well, that's what we should have avoided.
Right.
We should be singing out of the same hymnal when we talk to them about what we expect the county to do for us on that road.
And I agree with you, Craig, on that. And the problem is everybody's got different opinions, so if I go talk to them, Mike goes talk to them, and Bella goes talk to them, and we all get different opinions, and we give our opinions, they may balk on this.
But they have opinions,
gotta
too,
be
each
honest.
one of them, different opinions.
Well, that's fine, but, all right, but we have to know the cost number one of what we're gonna be paying. And I mean, that's a lot of money right now. I mean, I agree, right now, $50,000 would be a lot better, but I don't know. I don't know where I am with it right now because I want to see the cost.
Well, again, I think we should have gone with a single voice as to what our package is, what we expect from them. And I think we need to discuss this further, so I'm going to table it for right now.
Okay.
The stormwater problem on 4256, Drew, you're going to have Drew look into that as to whether, is the district property the way it should be?
I'll let Bob talk about that.
Oh, all right.
There was a gave an estimate and a proposal about doing some work out.
Okay, I'll wait for Bob to give an update then. Dave, Mike asked for an update on Unit 12.
On their,
Where they're at on the process.
that's another, I reached out to, Mr. Hornick's, attorney and haven't gotten a fantastic response back yet, so that's another thing I'll make sure I follow up on.
Craig, I would like to see Drew here next meeting, because I have some questions about, on those people's 3 houses. So I'd like to see, Drew here next week, that's what I'm asking, okay?
And he will be, we're gonna do an update on the drainage and also the paving plan for next fiscal year.
Okay.
He'll be here to address that, and he would have been here today, but he's not feeling well. He said he lost his voice, so it wouldn't be much help.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask, I thought the second meeting of every month we're supposed to have all, looks like we're missing.
Okay, utilities.
Now,
kind
I
of
gave him the plan.
roads and drainage.
Morning, everybody. Bob Brumfield, Supervisor of Roads and Drainage. Before we start talking about that, I gave everybody the newest code enforcement brochure. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but this is pretty much the finished product here. It will be on the website, as well as we'll have it in the office to hand out to people. If you have any questions on it,
I'd ask the board to review this and then we can talk to them about it at the next meeting.
okay, sounds good. Well, you also have some pictures of some culverts that are as a result of all the water that we had. We had 2 washouts on Balboa. This is the second one that we had. The first one was happened on we found it on Monday the 12th. That was the day that we found it. And then this one was on the next Saturday. It was actually found by KDL. They went out to check to see if their first repair had held, because we had so much water. That Friday we had about 5.5 inches of rain in 3 or 4 hours. There's just nowhere for the water to go when we have that much, especially after we've had that makes 20.5 inches in basically 10 days. We start on the 19th, and that's to the 9th, and that goes to the 19th. We just had, like Scott said, flash flood conditions. I know that they had some washouts on Lakeview Drive as well. I think we're probably pretty lucky we didn't have it worse than what we did. In fact, on Balboa, which is at the end of our last road out west, that's where all the water comes across or underneath. So we added another culvert to that in between these 2 washouts to help alleviate the amount of water going into those 2 areas. So that was at the probably Drew Jones, our engineer, Poston, and the contractor, and Chris and myself decided that would probably be a good idea, since they're out there working anyway, to go ahead and do that and put 2 additional culverts under the road. So there's 3 within probably half a mile distance down through there. We put 1 in between the 2 washouts. We had a washout that was probably a quarter of a mile from the first one, and then in between those 2, we put another set of culverts. Trash cans, we've got about 80 trash cans. We found out we had to take the wheels off and stack them up. That's been done. Contacted Bob Diefendorf with the county engineering, who's in charge of the waste management. He had the Waste Connection representative contact me. His name is Larry. He said he'd make an arrangement. I'll pick him up. They haven't done that yet, but hopefully that'll pretty soon. The last picture I gave you was a tracking, the latest update of the tracking of the potential hurricane. We don't know, nobody knows where it's going to go, but it is a potential storm, category 2, and it could possibly come across us. Most of the cone shows it hitting the middle of Florida on the west coast and tracking through the middle of the state. So just everybody be careful, be aware of that. Mosquitoes, we've been spraying regularly for several months now, on Mondays and Tuesdays when the weather is permitting. We've only been able to spray once in the last 2 weeks because of poor weather, but we do have a schedule for Monday and Tuesday. 7:30 to 9:30 is about the time that we're out there in the district area, and then Tanglewood and the other part of the district area. We have mosquito dunks. I know the county gave us a bunch of them a while back, but I think those are expired. If we have any left, and I'll contact the county to see if we can get some to hand out to residents. That's what they did. They had a little card, had 10 or 12. The biggest thing is to make sure you don't have any standing water. Even something the size of a bottle cap can breed mosquitoes. Another issue that I saw.
Bob, explain what you just said, 'cause I'm sure the board doesn't know what you're
Talking to the mosquito.
Yeah, mosquito, there are a lot of, there are many different species of mosquitoes. Some breed in still water, some breed in moving water, some just need tiny amount of water. And we don't target any one in particular, we target all of them. So, you know, if you have any bird baths or anything, especially this time of the year, don't come up down, try to eliminate any standing water around your houses. That would help. And I noticed that several people, including one of the residents of Calatrava, had their sprinklers running when we had the swell was full of water. That's something that we can do to help our situation. There's no need to add sprinklers to standing water, swells that have standing water in them, that's for sure. And I know it's kind of difficult, some people can't really figure out how to turn the sprinklers on and off. But generally there's a switch, and that's all you gotta do, and then you have to remember to turn it back on. But, you know, there's things that we can do ourselves to help eliminate some of the problems that we have. And I know that on October the 5th, we're scheduled to present, to touch on the roads and drainage budget for next year. Drew and I have been talking about that, and we'll get together and give you a presentation on that for the 5th.
As far as the retention areas, like, for example, outside my house, is that, are you going to be putting the fills in that? That's not my property, but it's stagnant water. It's going to be there for the next 2 months.
We go out every month, every 30 days. That's what that's what it says on the instructions. We have to follow the instructions. We have what they call dumps, and it's a bacteria. It targets the larvae before they turn into mosquitoes, and it keeps the larvae from growing. And we go out every 30 days and put those into any body of standing water. We will get in those areas, yes.
Okay.
And we do that.
But private property owners will have to do that. If it's on private property, they will be.
Yes, if it's on private property and we don't have access, if it's in front of their house and we can drive on the road, we'll get it. We target any standing body of water.
Okay.
Bob, I didn't understand you. Are you spraying for mosquitoes?
Yes.
In all of the district?
The entire district, we spray in Monday and Tuesday. We have half of it for Monday and the other half is on Tuesday.
Okay.
But that's weather permitting. If it's too windy, if it's rainy, we can't do it.
Okay. The storm was last week, and I still have standing water in my backyard that has not been helped because of the improvements that we're making on the golf course. I went out to walk my dog last night and was attacked.
Yeah, I know that they're really gonna be bad.
So I will take any expired dongs that you have, gladly.
I'll have, we'll go over there this afternoon and put something down.
Could we add another day, to spring for the next like 2 months, we can do that?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we've done that in the past.
Yeah,
That was my next question, and if it's a matter of money, I'm sure that we can find someone somewhere to get it done, because it's really bad.
It's a couple hours of overtime for the person that sprays. It's not a big amount, but it is extra.
That's okay.
Yeah, we can do that. Maybe.
Chris, is that all right with you?
That's the one.
Yeah. That's what we got to ask.
I'm in favor of anything that helps the district. We've trimmed palm trees, we've trimmed them around the community center, we've trimmed them tennis courts, we've trimmed them on Ortego. We are not going to trim them on the boulevard because some of those are getting into the power wires. We want to have a professional tree trimming company do that. I've got a price to do that. There's, I think, about 65 palm trees. It's $2,550. We'll go ahead and have them take care of that. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get them before the hurricane, but maybe we won't have to trim them so much that we just have to pick them up.
I hope you're wrong.
I hope I'm wrong too. You have any questions for me?
Yeah. The banners on the south entrance to Sun Lake.
On Ortego over there?
Yes. Some are missing, the others are very faded and old, probably the same type of banners that are running up and down Sun Lake Boulevard. I would ask you to, and Chris, to look into replacing all of them, and get a cost on what that would be, and see if it's worthwhile. Because right now, there's some missing, and the others are very, very faded.
Yeah, okay. We can do that.
I'd like to know the cost of the banners per year. Okay?
Yep, yeah.
All right? But I really,
So we've been really busy cleaning catch basins. We have a team go out every single day. Now it's just one person doing it, but we're cleaning, recleaning, swells, culverts, catch basins. We found a deer out there. We found a catch basin on Sunrise where water had been standing a little bit that had 2 trash bags that were in it. So, you know, we're constantly working on cleaning the culverts and catch basins.
Okay.
To start to keep the water flowing.
Hey, Bob, we're just looking at the deer standing outside.
coming in.
You walk close enough to the door, you can come in.
Yeah. You don't want to listen to us either.
There was an alpaca behind the house.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, that's it? 4256.
Yes.
You have a question about that?
Yes.
Don't know exactly what the answer is yet. I gotta talk to Drew and see what we can figure out, but
Please bring that to the next meeting.
yes, we will. Thank you.
Now, I'll follow up too on those washouts that we had back on Balboa. It was the $50,000 question. And the one we're working on right now, a little further away, where it's a similar situation, but we don't have road damage yet, will probably be the $40,000 question. So I would anticipate that the $250,000 drainage budget for this next fiscal year, we'll spend it on emergency repairs in October, November, and December.
Code enforcement.
And Bob, we set up a new office for you out at the pool. Get back to me.
You come to work in my bathing suit? No.
No.
No speedos here, please.
Good morning, board members. Bob Hill, code enforcement. We had quite a bit busy month with code enforcement. We wrote 200 violations. We had 2 hearings, one of both, or 2 cases for 1 hearing, and both the properties are have been found in fault. And that's where we stand. Any questions? What were those? Both of them were high wrecks. Yeah, terrible high wrecks. We have a couple other issues that probably will have to bring before hearing if they don't get corrected pretty soon.
The garbage that was out on Soprano.
Yeah. I got the call from that and I went right out there. That guy's a new resident, he just moved in. And when I got there, he had already contacted Waste Connection and paid the money for them to come and get it, but they hadn't come and got it yet, and I believe it's gone now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just assumed that you put it out a week too early.
Yeah. Well, no, with Waste Connection, if you have it over and because they will only pick up a certain amount.
Right, I know.
And then you could call them and pay the additional and then make a special trip, and that's what
Okay.
happened
Okay,
here.
thank
It
you.
was taken care of. And the grass on Pebble Beach there, that we were having the issue with, that's been cut.
You probably have to go out again within a couple of days and tell them again.
We know.
They don't seem to understand that that's gonna have to be a weekly thing, I believe.
I don't know how you can't know that, especially with the amount of
I
water
don't
we get down
either,
here.
but I'm just saying.
But I get you.
It's already higher than it should be.
Right, I understand.
Okay.
Did I hear you right, you said you have 2 houses, 2 places? That high ground?
No. We had 2 places that went to hearing that refused to comply with the orders. And once, the process is, we have to take them before a hearing before we can have it cleaned up, where we clean it up and build them more. All right.
Security?
Good morning, everybody. Miguel Hernandez, Security. We got for the month of August around 103 calls. Our vehicle, we got 2 tires repaired. Watch orders from went to last month from 862. We did around 9,323 miles last month.
Any significant issues that we ought to be aware of?
At least for the month of August. No.
Thank you. Community service and human resources. Chris, have we got any update on community service and human resources?
Yes, sir. In your board packet, we did include the latest drawings and layouts of the proposed recreation facility, just for you to take a look at, and it's moving along.
I have,
And we also, I think by Monday, all the recoding will be done on the pickleball courts. And it's been closed and locked off. We hope to have it open again Monday or Tuesday. It'll be done by Sunday, drying, and we'll just go in and do a walkthrough if there's any punch order items. But yeah, it's all wrapping up. And also they were wrapping up the air conditioning, the new system put on the rooftop for the kitchen. and that was a $50,000 expenditure.
I have a question for security. Didn't the board, excuse me, security, Miguel,
Yeah,
didn't we ask, the board asked for a report on the basketball courts last meeting?
That was me,
Bob, okay.
And, it's compiled, but it isn't completed yet. I
Okay.
had so much going on with code enforcement this week and the last 2 weeks that I just haven't had, so many days I just end up spinning my wheels because I'm kind of overwhelmed catching up on things.
Okay,
But it'll be completed by the next meeting, you'll have it.
okay, thank you.
Paul?
Good morning, Supervisors. Jimmy Murphy, Golf Course Superintendent. Gave you the printout, just quick on the Deer Run irrigation. We have completed holes 1 through 9, 10 and 18, 11, 12, and 13 will be done today. Main line should be nearing 15 green by this afternoon. We have had an issue with our hydraulic feed with our old system, with 10 being underwater. They hit it. I haven't been able to find it yet. So currently we're going out with a water tank until we can get it located or at least get our green and T loops in, which hopefully by midweek we'll have all those in. We've repaired the cart paths that were broken during the construction. We've laid 12 pallets of Bermuda in all the trench lines that didn't heal properly. I had the hay set up for this past week, but of course the fields got wet and we couldn't get anything cut for that. As I'm sure everybody's aware that they did get set back 4 or 5 days on that. They got 35 people on the crew right now. They're pushing hard. They're working at 6:30 every night. They're working Saturdays and Sundays, and they're trying to get everything completed by our deadline.
And that deadline is?
As far as they're concerned, is October 1. That's what I've been told.
What's the probability?
I would think maybe the first week of October. They're gonna push 7 days a week as hard as they can. They brought in additional machines and everything to try to complete it, which like I said, they started on 11 with main line Monday and they're already all the way through 15, so they're moving pretty good right now.
When it's completed, what's the course condition going to be like?
We're gonna have some of the disturbance areas, which is like what we're trying to do on the front right now, is go back with the trench lines. Most of the hay, if we waited, grow back in, but if it's deep enough or whatever and warrants sod, then I'm gonna sod it. As far as the fairways go, if you ride out and look at the ones where they've been, they're pretty good right now. 10 got a little sloppy, it was just, but other than that, I'm pretty happy with where our fairways are 1 through 9 right now.
Would it be safe to say though that you're going to be doing sodding and stuff after it's opened up?
Yes, sir.
So the course is going to be playable, but it's not going to be pristine by any means.
Yes, sir, I would definitely say that. Just where they're finishing that. So my goal is to, when they get on 17, is to start the pump station. The pump station is going to be a 3 or 4 day project. That'll be the biggest thing that'll be the consuming with the time, because we got to come around and disturb the cart path there. We'll have to reroute the traffic behind the shed there, the pump shed right now, because we're going to take the main up around the back of the putting green. So I'll have some areas like that that are going to get disturbed with the sod that we'll definitely have to fix. And then we'll still have the cart path we brought through 14 comfort station there, where we came around to the right of the pond, and then we're going through the cart path at the restroom there at 15, and then we'll stay down the left side. 17, if we do get weather next week, we have the option to move it to the right side if it gets too wet over on the left side. So we do have a game plan in place. But yes, sir, as far as your question goes, there will be some additional stuff. We're gonna work through this winter and try to repair as much areas as we can. That's our game plan. Any of the areas that we've struggled with this summer, with any areas that are leaks. A lot of as you can see on Turtle, we saw it at number 14. I think if you've seen it, it looks pretty good. A lot of these tees have common Bermuda on them, so a lot of them, after you spray them out, they don't move like the 419 goes. So we'll do most of that in-house. We got a little bit of landscape money each period, each month, and we'll utilize that as much as we can to repair those areas. The coquina, I try to get us some turf blocks. I can't get the turf blocks until January. That's the answer to fix that. So in the interim, I think I'm just gonna sod them back and at least get them up to the flat where the coquina will quit washing down in the fairways. 14, it's just, with all the rain we had, I'm gonna have to cut that out and repair that as well, over on Deer Run. And then we'll do something on number 3 as well. It's just, it should be put on the slopes. We gotta have something to paint coquina if we're gonna do that. We did do number 2 this morning, aqua tea on Turtle as well. And we also did all our, fertilized all the tees. The greens we put on and sprayed preventative fungicide again this week, just due to the amount of the rain we did receive. Of course, we rolled and smoothed the aerified greens. They look pretty good this morning. We do have a tournament over there tomorrow. We're gonna shut it back down after that.
What's one look like as far as water right now? Are you still pumping or not?
Yes, sir. So the problem with one is that the water table's so high that it's coming back up to the drain. So I talked with Jason, our pro this morning. I mean, I really can't do anything with that water. I don't have anywhere to take it. And it just, every time I pump it down, it's pulling it out of the pond because it's coming back up to the pipe. Unfortunately.
Okay.
Three was the same way on the deer. It was just, the water is so high that it just can't get out of the drain. So we're gonna rope it off this afternoon. And they should be able to get over that tomorrow, but we're gonna shut it down right after the tournament tomorrow. But there is standing water on 3 deer as well.
So you can get around it
Yes, sir.
without running through
Yes, sir. It'll be roped off as well. I know you guys have heard everything about the range, so I'm not gonna keep bringing that up. The driving range, we met with the Tour Greens rep yesterday, the Matt. We measured it all up. They're gonna try to get in here early and try to get it done before November. They're getting caught up in some of the areas, but we did meet with him and he's gonna give us a definitive date as quick as he can to get it started. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Good morning, Mayor, Supervisors. I'll give you a pretty there. We'll kind of jump through here. Just real quick. Just a quick note on the membership. Obviously, we've only really been taking in memberships for 3 weeks now. But from the last report, you see that number jumped up quite a bit. I did compare it to the last couple of years. It's slightly behind last year's pace, but it's pretty much right at the 2-year prior pace. Not too alarming at this time. I think from now till November 1, and maybe into the first week of November, I think that number is going to really jump up. But as a percentage, we're already at 21% projected, so it's pretty well on pace for playing there. Just an update, and I did update you on Monday regarding being closed 4 days there. Estimated about $11,000 of revenue loss. Now, obviously, in those situations, we do save labor, so we don't have as many people working on property, so as far as the bottom line goes, it's probably not quite that high. As Jimmy stated, we do have the Choices tournament tomorrow. It's about right around 180 players. They'll have a full field over on Turtle Run, and then we will have basically a third of the tournament will be on the front 9 of deer. Then we'll just play to play 18 holes on the front side, so they're just gonna loop through there twice. As Jimmy stated, obviously, the only concern is really number 3. We have a couple different options there. All the standing water there is, on the T side of the 150, so more than not, kind of plan A is we'll probably move the tees forward so they can hit the ball farther down the fairway and then just drive around. If we can't put that as a viable option, then we have the option of just making it a par 3 and let the tee off from, 140, 130 or something. But we will be looking at that here this afternoon. Kind of the next big topic that a discussion we had at the last board meeting, obviously, our executive chef has been in the newspaper with his acceptance with the CRA grant that he had to do. So obviously, me and Brian have had several talks on this. I have spoke to him multiple times regarding this situation. Obviously, that whole process will take a while for all that to go through. We have spoke with our HR team as well. So basically, we'll sit down with him. We're going to make him build a timeline of how that process will work, and then we will move forward in that fashion. So we will have that. I will actually give that to you folks when he completes that. So over the next few weeks here, maybe by the next board meeting, we should be able to have that. If not, it would be the second board meeting in October. Hopefully, we'll have that in your hands, and we will have obviously a game plan going forward how we will react to that. So.
Do you have an estimated timeline?
If you're just on my guess alone, if it was me, I don't think anything would happen until next fall. I don't, but that's an absolute guess, and that's my estimation alone.
Okay, my problem is that if he's already committed to this, then I think we need to start our search now.
Amen.
I don't want to be without a chef again.
We
And if
totally.
we find one that we like, then we can let him go and do his thing.
We definitely share your concerns in that situation, and we will navigate through that. Obviously, we have an HR department to make sure we do it correctly, and we'll build that timeline. We'll definitely keep you in the loop of how that will work.
Is he under contract?
With
Does he
us?
have a signed contract?
Not in that fashion.
Then we sit with all the risk.
Exactly.
And and I'm not saying that he would do this maliciously, but his focus is going to be on getting his business up and running. His focus is not going to be making sure that our restaurant, it becomes a restaurant that people want to come to. And I am adamant that I think that we should start our search immediately.
I did teach Brian Rhodes from Troon. I did speak with our HR team. He is an at-will employee. So yes, we have some flexibility there. Chef has committed to us for the season and to build us a team. So he's saying all the right things. We have reiterated the responsibilities of the job, and if this new venture that he's looking to go into affects his performance, then we'll take additional steps. And obviously, we're giving him the option to help us create a timeline so we can then build, bring someone in. We'll use it almost like a retirement resignation, is how it's shaping out to be in my mind. But yes, we can start immediately looking at where we're for the future, because we do not want to be without a chef. But he is saying all the right things right now, and his job performance is very good.
I had dinner there last night. He served over 120 people, and the food was excellent. I think he's a great cook. I just don't want to be behind the 8 ball again, please.
Correct. We understand we're making those tough conversations, right? We've given him a couple weeks to come up with a game plan to tell us where it's going to affect him. Obviously, we're being very vocal with what our expectations are. All right, next on the list. So, as discussed in our budget meetings, we will see some food and beverage cost increase that will start on 10/1. Most of those will be alcohol prices. That will happen next week. The team is working through all that situation now. Obviously, it's a lot of computer work just to make sure the POS system's up to date. Had a discussion with everybody about October hours of operation. Obviously, we're still searching for a few folks for the kitchen as far as line cooks. I had some discussion with Brian and with our chef, and at least, for October as we're trying to fill that team. And we do have a few interviews coming up next week. In order to efficiently operate the restaurant without going into overtime or possibly hiring folks that aren't qualified for the job and having poor service and poor quality, we made the decision that we want to go ahead and open for Tuesday nights for dinner as we would normally in season, but remain closed for dinner on Mondays through October. And I also want to state that in October, there's 5 Mondays in October. 3 of those Mondays we're actually going to be open for events. Now, the best part, the thing about events is that we can do it with a lot more efficiently in the back of the house with less staff, so we can still avoid operating that without hitting overtime, but still, being open in some fashion. So that's why, so really we're only going to be completely closed 2 Mondays in October. And the goal is obviously to be fully staffed November 1 so we can resume our normal operations. It's not what we want to do, but I feel like if we're going to open and do it right, I feel like it's a necessity thing to do this year.
For the record, I do not agree with you. One of these days, I'd like to see us have a restaurant, not something that is continually being restricted. We can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do this. As long as you keep saying you can't, you ain't never going to do it. Let's go on to last night. I understand they have good service, good food for 120 people. Why in the world, on a buffet dinner, did we have to restrict the attendance to 120 people?
So in that main dining, unless we wanted to close our operation, which would be restricted to the public, but we actually were still open to the public. On that dining room, that was what was available for that. It was a private event. So that's what we offered the guests for that, so we could still be open for all of our other members and guests that did not attend that party. So we remained open for a la carte dining in our other facility. So we sold out every seat in that room. And we were still open.
Your a la carte was that busy last night?
I wouldn't say that it was that busy, but we did not close to the public.
We have another room in the back that's called a dining room also. And we couldn't serve more than 120 people on a buffet at $17 a piece. That, again, I don't understand. Restrict the menu, restrict this, restrict that.
I understand, but
no, I guess you don't, because I guess I've been found in this group, and maybe it's me, maybe I'm wrong. But I see restaurants running all over this town, not operating in the manner that, and we have a gold mine, and we can't get it going.
So,
Michael, can I say something?
please.
That's right. I mean, we have a committee, the restaurant committee, and I was asked that question last night. Why do we have to, we closed the bar part. Why didn't we put this in back so people could still come inside the bar? That was the question I had, and Craig's right, is, what we keep hearing is we have to, we only serve 120. Well, it really takes, 300 people, I think, right? 360. 360, and I mean, I thought the food was excellent, the service was excellent. I loved that the waitresses took all the orders from the tables. There was no standing in line like we were getting tickets to a movie, and I love that, and that's what I would like to see more often, you know? I just think that maybe we should have had it in the back, and, you know, and when I walked in, there were people in back eating. A matter of fact, I think there was somebody in this room that was eating, you know, for themselves. And, but he's right, you know, we gotta think this out, you know.
You served over 200 people a week ago Thursday.
Correct. And that, so you're definitely correct, and I think he answered part of your question. So the event was really, really nice. We had the appropriate amount of staff to operate at that. Now, the back room, if we were to hold that event, would have held a lot less people, probably would have been 80, maybe 80 or so. So we would have had less room.
So what does the back room take, how many, is that it?
It depends. So all of these events, what you need to understand is they're all different. And depending on what needs to happen in that room, it can hold more or less people. If I just want to put tables in the back room, I can put 150 people in there. But if I need to put a buffet in there, if I need to put prize tables, if I need to put dance floors, they're all different. Okay? So when we originally set up this event, which was a private event, it was not a club function. This was contracted out to a private person that wanted to host this event. We offered them that room at the time, so we could still be open for a la carte dining. It's what we would do all the time for any other event. That's how it got contracted out. Now, luckily the event was popular, and it extended all the way out to the max. Now, 3 or 4 days out, it wasn't there. It was at 80 people. So if you want to plan for a party that's, luckily we did plan ahead and we actually ordered enough food for that. But at some point you need to say, what's our drop dead deadline? How many people are coming? Because you have to order the food for it. We're not a grocery store, we just don't have a stock room in the back. We need to plan ahead and we need to order for it. So at some point you need to say, what's my max number for this event? And you need to cut it off. So, I mean, at some point, you have to cut it off. If it's 84 days out, you have to plan your menu, you have to do it. It's real easy to sit here and say, why didn't you have more? But there's definitely plenty of reasons why we did it. Now, we had probably 10 to 15 people on staff that night to do that. If we would all of a sudden open the floodgates and it went to 200 and we opened the thing, it could have been a total flop. You come to all of our large events when we have our big couples events, and you know how hard it is when 200 people walk through that door and you're trying to serve them drinks. I've taken that down several times.
They don't. We go line up at the bar.
Right? Well, last night we did not.
That's a first. That's a first. And that's what it should be.
Right.
But I'm telling you, you can't continue. I'm done.
All right, so moving on.
Oh, but on your weekly report, I would now like to see entrees served at lunch and at supper, daily numbers, per day.
I will do that. All right, so just last on the list here, I was planning on being on vacation next Monday through Friday. Obviously, at this time, I'm still planning to do it, but I think the weather forecast will play a little factor in that. If for some reason that comes to fruition, which I hope it doesn't, I'm not going out of town, so I will obviously be here to manage whatever we have to. With that being said, I provided everybody a copy of our hurricane preparedness plan. We have implemented this at times before, way back to, previous stuff. You don't have to read through all that, I just wanted to let you know that we do have a game plan. There's nothing earth-shattering there, basically it's kind of a step-by-step, list to check off to make sure we're not missing anything, in case that happens. So, just to make sure that we are taking care of the property and everything else on it. So if anybody has any further questions, I'm done.
I have one more question, and it's for Jimmy, actually. Jimmy, when you finish the course, are we gonna get as-built, when we're done? And we'll give, Chris will have one, right? I wanna make sure that.
What did you say?
The as-built.
That-
On the course, when they're done the construction, I didn't have to.
The as-built, yeah, everything.
They know that stuff.
Everything's being GPS.
Okay.
We'll have valves, we have everything GPS, and we'll have, you know, unfortunately, in the past, we didn't have those
Right,
records.
right.
So, yeah, we'll make sure that the district gets them filed.
Which you, Chris, I have at least 2 copies. All right, thank you.
After one of the severe storms where there was a lot of lightning, the following morning, a bunch of, there was several from the irrigation people, they had every valve or every head up. Did we get hit by lightning or you?
On hole 6, I would say that a lot of times they go, so our guy who works for us in our irrigation, I want him to go out and flash our heads all the time. If we do get hit by lightning, just like what happened on the practice area, I want to know prior to make sure that our heads are all operating properly.
Every head was popped up out of the ground, and the guys were out there from GTI.
GT irrigation on number 6.
Yeah, and
Oh, what that could have been, Craig, was that they were popping them up to mark them to pull the old heads. To identify the old heads, to pull them out of the ground.
Okay. Okay, follow-up items. Chris, we don't need, we just need when, welcome package updates, who's responsible and when we're gonna get them.
We'll bring that to you October 7th. I know they were working on assembling, but we got it in the office.
The wedding chapel gazebo, the wedding chapel and gazebo that we talked about for $1,600, the plastic one, are we doing anything about that?
I haven't yet, we can purchase it.
What is
I mean, I'll have to take a look too, because putting it out there is fine, it's the easy part, but having a place that's stable,
Yeah.
and something to put it on, and, you know, to take it on and off is another story.
Newsletter update, that's coming with,
We haven't done anything with the newsletter, we're still working on the website, and we hope to have that up and operational in November. But for right now, we've discontinued the newsletter, we did send one out this month.
Manor Hill light package, we have any specific?
I do not have the costs yet from
Okay.
Duke, but I will have them very soon.
Oh, I missed. Bob, you got an update on dog park? Closing email blast, completion dates, etc.?
I'm sorry about that, Bob Brumfield, road and drainage supervisor. We are planning on the dog park. We're going to start the fence the last week of October. I haven't heard, they said that they had a big job the first 3 weeks of October. If that didn't work out, then they could get in there sooner. But I haven't heard from them yet. I'm still hoping they can do it, but right now it's scheduled for the last week of October to come in and do the fencing. We'll have the tree removed by then, so there shouldn't be any issues with it.
How long will it be closed?
A couple of days. They're quick. And then once we have the fence lined out, we'll go in and make some areas, prepare some areas for parking, for a path to get back on the east side. And we'll do that work in-house. We'll get the material that we probably, maybe like the coquina that Jim used on the golf course, we pat down real good and get a good spot. We'll also have borders around it, so more.
Thank you. Chris, update on the, did you get with the sheriff about having?
I did not, but I'll have it for you next week, their hourly rates for the traffic enforcement.
I didn't get that, I'll think the sheriff, what?
Just looking at hourly
The
rates.
number of stop signs being run all the time, and you're gonna see what it is to get some increased coverage here. So that would- new business,
You don't have anything?
discussion to and from the board.
Well, I like this one thing that I still have never got an answer on the raises for employees. On raises for employees, what percentage we're gonna give them? You know, look at the cost of gas and everything, all right, the cost of living. We wanna give them 3%, and I asked to give 6% to the employees. We have employees, just in the grounds, 150 years of service we have people. I just think that we should.
Talking to the mic.
I just think that we should look into this. You know, everybody, I've asked about it a couple times. I like Bob Brumfield and Bob Brooks come up and speak, because they've actually talked to me about it, where we were, and I told them we're gonna bring it up. So I'd like both those guys to explain, why they think that they should get raises.
This isn't something we talk about.
This is,
our business.
no, it's up to Chris to provide that in the budget. It is in the budget. We're doing compensation reviews. And at that time, we can make a decision on whether or not anyone is eligible for any kind of a specific increase, especially across the board.
Okay.
There is still the merit increases that have been there all along, provided that it's merited. But I don't believe this isn't it has to be in the budget. It's already in the budget, I believe, at a 3%. And this budget is going to be approved here shortly, I would hope, so we can move on from there.
Well, it's just like Bud explained, it's not up to us to give it, it's up to Chris to give it. And I like Chris to look at it, you know, go from 3 to 6% for employees.
I would ask him not to do that.
Well, that's fine, but I'm asking them to do it.
Well,
Okay.
it's a board thing, and it's up to Chris to determine what percentage.
In the budget this year, and as it's been developed for the past 6 months, it's been the standard, the board puts 3%, and it's not an across the board that money is a 3%, just a budget figure, and it's dependent on the employee's review. And so if an employee, some of them, depending on performance, may not get a raise at all. It's not a cost of living raise.
No.
And that's the way it's been in the budget all along, and I appreciate it doing that, but I think on the day you're going to approve the final budget, it's a little late to be bringing this discussion to the board.
Okay.
Yes,
Did we receive?
please come up to the mic and introduce yourself.
Okay. Sandy Quarles. I wanted to know if the employees received an increase last year and what their percentage was.
3%.
So 3% last year?
Yeah.
And another-
Year before.
Unless they were topped out. This is a
Right, exactly.
3% merit. If they're at the top of their rate, then they would not receive anything.
Right, exactly.
If they're at the top of the rate for the classification that they're work that they're doing. Any other comments? Okay, we'll move into fiscal year 22-23 budget review public hearing. So the budget presentation, Chris, want to take over?
I'll start it out and just make a couple opening remarks. The budget as we're presenting today, there were a few minor changes at the last meeting for some capital items. One, moving the Turtle Run green loops from 23-24 to 22-23. That was accomplished, and also a piece of capital equipment for a wood chipper. So those two were the only changes made in the budget, and we did move the line item just to make it a little more transparent, that there's a transfer of funds made to the golf course that reflects the contribution made by golf course lot owners at $70 a year for cutting the grass between their property and the golf course, that open area. And that's approximately $42,000, and that was put in to that overall transfer to golf, and the only thing we did was move it out of that and move it into a separate line item so you can see it.
That's a transfer in of revenue for the golf.
Correct.
Instead of in the capital portion.
Correct.
Correct.
So those are the only three changes that were made to the budget at the last meeting, and everything else has really been consistent for the last 2 months. There hasn't been any major changes or movement to any of the items. So, and with that, I think, Steve, are you online?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, Stephen Blue with Infomark is going to make some opening remarks and an overview of the budget. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Great. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I just wanted to kind of put in some summary comments on the budget. Chris kind of mentioned the changes, but you know, kind of following up on what we talked about the last time, all three of these funds, the budgets are balanced. So that's the first thing, always very important. As Chris mentioned, there is a total of $747,000 estimated of funds that are going to be transferred out both in the general fund and utility fund into the golf fund to cover, you know, the capital projects. Overall, between the three funds, there's about $2.6 million in capital items. Again, these are the items, with the exception of the changes that we talked about, these are the same ones that are in your capital plan. There were no changes to your operating budget since your last version. And really, the only other thing I wanted to remind everyone, and just kind of an FYI, is there is the grant revenue that's in the utility fund that will also be covering some of the capital spending. With that, it's always good to have a balanced budget. The only other thing I will mention is the utility fund that does have about $60,000 worth of reserve for contingency. And what another good thing for any budget is there is no use of prior reserves to fund any of this. So it's you know what we call a clean budget with a little bit of contingency.
Any comments from the board? Any public comments concerning the budget, proposed budget? Thank you, Mark.
Mark, President. Just a quick question for clarification. I'm sorry, I do not have the budget for me. I thought I had it in this packet. But the transfer, and I understand the reason they took out from 24 into this year's budget for the proposed green loops. How much was transferred? Was it, originally it was like $550, I thought, in that. Did they transfer the whole $550?
That was
No.
$375.
So they just transferred the amount that they thought it would cost them to do the green loops. Okay, that was the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comment?
And what we're asking the board today is we have resolution number 2022-09-23-2, which is the board resolution adopting the assessment rates, which, as you know, went up 5% this year, and also adopting the budget itself as it's been presented. So the motion would be to approve the resolution, which approves that 5% increase in the assessment rate and also approves the budget as was presented. And as you folks also know, the board approved an increase. It was about an average of 5.2% in the utility funds, but that was included under the utility budget. And we have a flyer going out to the residents with the bill today, documenting a lot of that information and providing details. And we'll plan on that increase going into gallons, it'll be about $3 a month of an increase.
Can I get a motion on the resolution number 2022-09-/23-2?
Greg, can I make a statement?
Yes.
I just want to let everyone know, I'm going to vote no on this budget, only because of the golf. I'm in favor of the resolutions on assessments and the other stuff, but I just cannot believe that we're doing this again this year. So I just got to be consistent. I voted against it last year. I'm going to do it again this year, and I just want people to know why. So, thank you, Greg.
So moved.
Okay, been got a motion, we need a second to approve the resolution. I'll step down and make.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Any further board discussion? Any public comment? Yes.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time.
Are you going to have the comments after you pass the resolution?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Thank you.
Wait.
So you're gonna increase the assessment by 5%, correct?
Please.
You're gonna increase, make sure I understand, you're gonna increase the assessment by 5% for this year?
Yes.
And then follow up for the next year and the year after that?
Yeah, it'll
Well,
have to
we
be,
only can do it 1 year at a time.
Okay.
it'll have to be voted on at that time, yes.
I guess my concern as a resident is, if you look at the budget, there's some organizations within the district that are not making money. They're losing money,
Yes.
okay? So as a resident, I just feel really uncomfortable to be paying an extra 5%, and maybe we need to look in our own back door to see why are we losing money over here,
Agreed.
okay? I just find that very uncomfortable. And the other I was going to tell, on the 3%, that might satisfy what you're asking for. Your 3% is a total budget for an increase, is a raise. What you could do is, as a merit, you can take that total pot to 3%, and as a merit, say, okay, you get no more than 5%, an excellent work. You get 5%, but your budget is capped at a certain amount of money. So you can satisfy what you're saying and meet the 3% as well.
Potentially, yes.
Okay, so that's just my thought.
Thank you. Mark, if you have questions about the resolution, you probably should.
No, yes.
Okay.
General question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other public comment versus on the resolution? Call the vote.
Supervisor Phillips?
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin?
No.
Supervisor Hurley?
Yes.
Deeper Herrick?
Yes. Resolution passes. Okay, next meeting is October 7th, 2022. And Mark, you want to make a comment?
Council President. I just wanted to make a couple of general comments. I know that, I believe anyway, Chris told me that you're working on a new web design. And I know you guys probably don't run into this that often because you get a board packet. I used to get it, and it has everything in everything. For us people out there that go on and depend on the website, it's still pretty difficult to follow. Just a couple thoughts in terms of your design. You have the minutes of the meeting. We know, or I know at least, that they're embedded in the agendas that you get for meetings coming up. Okay, from the previous meeting's minutes are in the next agenda. There's a point when you look on our website where they have minutes and then they have the video. It's inconsistent. Sometimes the minutes are there, sometimes they aren't. They're buried in the following month's agenda for approval. Just as a thought, you have some of them there, so for the person going on that site that doesn't know where to look at the minutes, it might be a good idea to do that. The other thing is, because I had the experience of trying to find RFPs this week, and I know this Demand Star is one of them that has the RFP. I couldn't find but one RFP, the one for the meters. That doesn't mean it's not there, but I couldn't find it. Traditionally, you can go up there, you can see when the bids are going on and things like that. Just like I said, a thought to do something there. The other thing is, I don't know, and maybe our attorney can answer this, or maybe you can answer it, I don't know. I know there's resolutions, but I rarely see them like this. When you did the adoption of the budget, there's a resolution in this packet. But on previous meetings, you vote on things, I know that they end up being probably a resolution at a later date. I'm trying to understand what constitutes the need for a resolution and a signature.
There's no legal requirement that we have a written resolution. That basically what there is, once there's a motion and a second, and that's voted, that is a quote-unquote resolution. It doesn't necessarily have to be reduced to a specific writing. I understand Mr. Alvin's point in the past, there was a lot more written resolutions were prepared. When we went to April, March, the board decided that that wasn't as strict a necessity as it used to be. And so we're basically operating in a new system, but with issues like this, I believe our policy requires that we have a written resolution for the adoption of the budget.
Thank you for the explanation, because I didn't realize, I must have missed that meeting and didn't hear that they were looking to change that. But it makes it easy to find things when you have a resolution, that's all.
And we hired a firm named Revise, and they've done hundreds of government sites. And ours is under development, and it'll be ready to kick off in November. What you'll find there is there'll all be drop-down menus for those different areas, and it's much, much easier to navigate.
Is there a target date when that would happen?
Yeah, we're planning on opening it up in November. We're doing final site mapping, yes, sir. And we also have our local fish lab firm working with us on the marketing side to make sure the graphics and the pictures are reflected. The Revise is out of Illinois, but they do strictly government websites, and that's why we hire them. But I think you'll find something that's going to be a lot easier to navigate. We're working on populating it right now.
All information should be on one site after this.
Okay, fantastic. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the time. Thanks again.
Thanks, Mark.
This is a little bit off the track. Dennis Swanson. I'm seeing a safety problem that I don't think anybody's paying any attention to. I've come down from the golf course on Edgewood Drive to Sunrise, and in the last 2 weeks, I'm coming at different times. So what's happening to me, it's got to be happening a lot more. People are blowing that stop sign and not even slowing down. A lot of them. The other thing I saw, I come down there the other day with my truck. I said, like, I don't ever move until I make sure these guys are stopped, because they're nuts. And the guy's coming up at the bar, he turns around the corner, he never even slowed down. Once he's going around at 15, 20 miles an hour. Well, here's my concern. I don't know how many times I've seen women or people, anybody with kids or without kids, walking along with their back to traffic. They don't realize there's no sidewalk and there's none to protect them. And time and time again, I'll stop them. I'll say, hey, you've got some nutty drivers around here. And if they come along and your back's to them, I saw there was one day, this lady was with her mother, I think. She had 3 kids. One was on over the bike, the other one's walking. And they got their back to traffic. I said, if somebody come buzzing through there and that kid got excited and moved out, you'd have a dead kid. And I don't know what you would say about this, but I got a feeling if somebody gets hurt seriously and the person that's got insurance on their card, it won't make any difference. The money's in Sun Lake, they'll go after them.
That's why we're looking into having the sheriff's department do more.
I think, look, my experience has been between maybe 7:30 till 9 in the morning and 4 to 6 in the afternoon. If you have real traffic traffic stops, you catch a lot of these people, nail them, stop it, because this scares the hell out of me. I come down one day, come down where I live on Monset, and it's midnight, or 11 o'clock. And I'm driving down, I got LED lights so I can see along. Some guy is walking to the back to me in black clothes. I mean, this is crazy. Oh, and there's one other thing. You know those bumps you put in the road? Trucks drive over those like a bump. You gotta put them rubber things in. I bet if you put one of those rubber jobs before that stop sign, you wouldn't have people zipping through there anymore. Because they'd wreck their car. Those rubber ones are the only ones that work.
Thanks, Dennis.
It's just a point.
Thank
It
you.
scares the hell. I had a lady walk by my house. She lives down the street, just moved in a year ago. And I walked over and I said, why are you walking with your back to traffic? She said, I thought that's the way you had to do it here. See, they'd been in Puerto Rico for a year and then they came to California. She didn't know that she should stay on the other side of the road. I mean, the bulletin should come out and state that. Talk to people, just put it in the bulletin, hey, make sure you're facing traffic. The other thing I'd like to see is if there's a site that we can go to see what results are happening on some of these things. Because there's a lot of things happening around here nobody's heard about, like you had the gunfire. What happened with that? Was there somebody out there? Did somebody investigate it? What was the guy doing? Was somebody shooting at somebody, or was it just some crank? And what other things happened? I heard it was a drug bust up from my house on the corner up there one day. It came through me. I said, who the hell would be doing that? And I don't know if it's true or not, but we don't have any kind of report coming out that should come out monthly, that everybody should know what's going on in their neighborhood. I know when I went to Las Vegas, I looked up crime.com and put my hotel in there to see what's going on, to see what kind of things. There was muggings and all this stuff going on. But at least you knew. I just can't see.
Thank you.
Some little kid getting whacked.
Meeting's adjourned.
At 11:36.
I